Guys, welcome back to RBR, and here is the new BMW M4 LCI facelift, but M have wasted no time in adding even more M into this car to create this, the new M4 CS. It's an M4 that's meant to be the Goldilocks in between our standard competition and the pre-LCI M4 CSL. Though you'd be forgiven for thinking that this is literally just a CSL. The amount that it takes from that car in terms of the power output, the best design features, yet maintaining that practicality that we all love about the M3 and the M4. This may well be that Goldilocks car. Today, I get to drive this car here in Salzburg, in the Salzburg Ring, for a first drive on track, which is going to be really cool. And then I'll also be able to show you all the different specs that you're able to choose for the CS. So it's going to be quite cool. Let's check out together this brand new LCI M4 CS. So guys, today's episode of RBR is sponsored by our partner Incogni. Now, if you're a private person like I am, I don't like to share what I'm doing in my life, where I live, anything to do with my personal data, then this service is going to be hugely interesting to you, particularly if you are in the USA. Now, a lot of people have been victim to data breaches and their data being sold. I don't know if you know this, but there's such thing as data brokers out there who literally take the data they find out about you online and through other methods and sell them to other companies, to financial institutions, wherever they can make a buck. And that is where Incogni steps in. And I was actually shocked when I signed up and I found how many places had even my data online. And it took less than a week for Incogni to start shifting through and removing this data, because it is your right to do this. You are allowed to request to do it, but imagine how long it would take you to do it. And that's where Incogni comes in, and they handle the entire process. You get consistent updates on their website, and it tells you how they're progressing, how much is left in terms of how many more websites they have to go through, how many more brokers they have to approach. It's actually really, really easy to do. And if you're in the USA, I didn't even realize this, but you have this people search thing that you can do out there in these websites, and you can literally find people's addresses, which I think is insane. Again, Incogni will help you guys out there in the States with this and remove your data from those type of websites. So you just got to do it. So guys, if this is of interest to you, head over to incogni.com/remove, and you can use the code remove and you will get 60% off this service. It's quite ironic because now you can remove your data before you race, or yeah, something like that. So that's Incogni helping us protect our data and our privacy. Huge thanks to them for supporting RBR and this episode, and to you guys for always supporting our sponsors. I hope this was useful. Let's head back to the car. Enemy territory.
Yeah, mate, what's going on? It's like...
I'm surrounded. They're all... Have you seen that scene in Jurassic Park where the guy's like...
Yeah.
Trying to keep the...
Look at this. They're literally all these grills looking at you, mate. Look, I mean, seriously.
The biggest grill is there behind the camera. So guys, this could be a really interesting car because we all love the M3 CS. It was an absolute hit. And the thing we loved about it was that it did not detract from the daily usability of the M3. It just added so much more M flavor and really reminded me of the M5 CS in kind of the best way. And now we've got an M4 version of it, because the biggest criticism laid against the M4 CSL was how it was just lacking in practicality due to the fact that we shed, yes, a huge amount of weight by getting rid of the rear seats and adding the carbon buckets, but you lost a lot of what makes the M4 kind of a really good daily car. So this car is kind of the Goldilocks. It keeps the practicality of your competition while adding our favorite bits from the CSL into the CS version. Now, instead of taking the rear-wheel drive M4 as its basis, like the CSL did, this car takes the M4 Competition XDrive. So it's an all-wheel drive car, just like the M3 CS, just like the M5 CS, which is kind of a good thing. And of course, the power on offer is exactly the same as we get in the CSL. So we still have that brilliant 3-litre inline-six, partly 3D printed, lightweight crankshaft, forged pistons, etc., all that good stuff. But the boost going to our turbos has increased from 1.7 to 2.1, which gives us then a horsepower output of 550 brake horsepower. Still the same 650 Newton meters, but a much quicker 0 to 60 at 3.4 seconds. So this should feel much more rapid than the rear-wheel drive CSL that I personally really struggle to get off the line in any clean way, even in dry weather. The engine also has a higher spring rate for its engine mount, which basically means that when you put down power, it's going to be more responsive in delivering that power because it's got a more rigid connection. And then we've got a high precision strut brace. Let me actually show you that live. Here you can see the lightweight strut that goes from our suspension towers on each side, bolted to the front as well. It's hollow, it's really lightweight, and that helps massively with rigidity. And then you have the brilliant carbon fiber bonnet that just looks absolutely fantastic. Just like you had in the CSL, it's such a talking point, and I think it looks better underneath than it even does on top with that painted finish. It is just a stunning, stunning looking bonnet. That by itself is worth the price of entry into this car, in my opinion. Now, don't think just because we've got XDrive in here that you're going to lose out on that rear-wheel drive feeling. This is just like the XDrive in the M5, which can switch to either a more rear-biased sport mode or completely disconnect the front and go into rear-wheel drive mode. Plus in the CS, it's configured specifically for this car. It's got its own oil cooling for that differential as well. And it's all done to give it kind of a more reactive and a more hooligan-like feel for the CS, which of course it should have, right? Then we come to the suspension. We've got M's adaptive suspension with electronically controlled shock absorbers. You guys have seen this all before, standard fare for CS, per wheel, controlling the car's motion, whether you're driving slower or driving more dynamically. You know how it is. But more important than that is the stiffening versus the standard car. They've done a lot in terms of new anti-roll bars, additional helper springs, other struts, etc., all to give this its own character in terms of the way that the body is controlled, because half of the battle with suspension is controlling the actual body of the car. We still have the same ZF 8-speed, though, as we found in CS in the past, it just reacts faster. And again, we'll try that on track later on. We also have the integrated braking system in here, which again, variable pedal feel, which is quite nice. And then finally, we have the weight saving measures. So there's a lot of carbon used here, mainly on the bonnet and the internal bits that have been taken out of the center console, etc. So all in all, it's about 20 kg lighter than your standard competition, just like the M3 CS was. I can't understand whether that's including if you get carbon ceramics, because they save a huge amount of weight as well. But let's just say it's a bit of a diet versus the CSL, which is a lot more of a diet, right? Now, don't think that just because it's got so much from the CSL that it's doing the same job. The CSL reduces the weight even further, mainly thanks to the reduction of the rear seats, the even lighter carbon buckets, sound insulation removal, etc., making it, you know, over 70 kg lighter than the standard car. So it's still the lightest, it's still got the best power to weight ratio, it's still rear-wheel drive, making it a little bit more pure. This is all about consumer choice, I think, and don't just write off the CSL because this has got so much, because there's still a lot of difference in the technicalities for the people who do care about it. Now, in terms of what you can order for this car, you get a number of paint options. This is your first one, which is gorgeous. I was calling it Pakistan flag green, but it's actually Isle of Man frozen, which is very, very, very nice. I think it's my favorite color of the lot. A close second for me is Riviera Blue, which I'm sure you've seen the press shots of, which again is gorgeous. It's just a really nice, BMW always killing it with their blues. So I really like that color. You've got Brooklyn Grey as well, which is another one really nice to show off the carbon parts. And if you want to go completely stealth, you got Sapphire Black. But then I think you kind of miss out on the bonnet element, which is a bit of a shame. Though if you pair it with the gold wheels, maybe a better shot. But this green one is so gorgeous. I do want to show you the CS details, so let's come close and have a look at this car together, and then I'll show you the changes inside as well. What a beautiful car this is. I love those lights. I know we all do. These are the LCI lights, but in CS form, so they've got the lovely yellow graphic inspired by motorsport within there. Let's get a closer look at these. These are beautiful. Really. I know some people have bemoaned the loss of like the circle lights, but it's not an evolution that's too far away in my opinion, and it's always recognizable to CS on the road. Despite the fact that everyone and their mother-in-law are changing their DRLs to be yellow, a CS is still a CS, and you can spot it from a mile away thanks to a number of changes. We've got the carbon fiber lower splitter here, along with the carbon fiber air intakes, which look great. Splitter it's large and it really protrudes from the side, and you can kind of actually tell a bit of that camber change here. But yes, a really, really nice and emotive lower front end there. And then the best part, showed you part of it already, is the bonnet, which looks great. Do protect this with PPF if you buy it, guys, please. Do not go around repairing that. But yeah, they really went with both feet in on this design with the grille. They didn't change on the LCI. I thought that they might, given some of the backlash, but it's sold so well this generation that I can't see why they would have to. You got the specific CS wheels as well here, finished in gold. Again, in my opinion, you got to go for the gold ones. And behind that, you can see the carbon ceramic brakes with the red calipers. You still have the carbon fiber roof with these extra haunches within there, as we saw in the CSL, which is nice. And then of course in the rear are laser lights that are CSL introduced in the previous pre-facelift. They're gorgeous. The only sad thing is now that the standard LCI gets those exact same lights, so not quite as unique as it used to be. And there are your lovely exhausts, which still make a fantastic sound when you go into sport mode. What this doesn't benefit from though is that lovely ducktail that the CSL had, which saves so much weight, around about 7 kgs, a lot more than the bonnet did actually. Instead you have this carbon fiber spoiler on the back. But overall, stunning colour, stunning looking car, and inside, again, you got some of the best parts of the CSL without losing that practicality. Of course we have the usual intro screen from M, which is great, with the actual spec of your car, which we love. So here is the interior, and here is your new steering wheel. I love this. It is so much better looking. It just looked to me like that guy who'd gone to the gym, gone on a bulking season and needed to cut down. And that's what this steering wheel has done. It's cut down. You've got a lovely flat bottom here. You've got a whole new spoke, which is all carbon fiber here, still the M logo, but it's got more character inside. Like you can see, it's hollow and the carbon still continues around. The buttons are still familiar, which are good because they're really easy to use. And this in the CS is a thicker version than what you get in the LCI, and it's all finished in microfiber. So I really like it. This is the M steering wheel I was waiting for. I wanted it to be flat bottomed. I wanted it to be a bit more slim and exciting, and they've made it exactly that. In terms of the system here, it's BMW operating system 8.5, so pretty much the latest one that you get. So you can see you get your usual widgets that you can have in here, including adding new ones, etc. So all of that you guys are familiar with. Same with the M setup mode. And you can see here, there's your MX drive, four-wheel drive sport, etc., drift mode. Now the main difference for the CSL comes in this area. Just like in the M3, you've gotten rid of your storage area over here, which actually used to be really useful. Now you've just got this CS leather handrest here. You've got this that really doesn't serve much purpose. Maybe you can throw the keys in there or something, I don't know. But basically this does all help save weight. It looks good. It's a big carbon structure as well. You still do have your phone charging in here, which is good, and your USB-C is hidden in that section. How much weight does this really save? Probably not enough, given the fact that you lose a bit of practicality. But the good thing about the M4 CS is you maintain those seats, which I think is really important. And you also wind up with the same seats that we have in the competition cars, albeit trimmed in a unique way for the CS. But these aren't the full buckets, again differentiating it from the CSL, which had the immovable bucket. So yeah, it's lovely. I love that steering wheel in particular, and this whole thing works, I think, so well with the green. What do you guys think? So we know that an M3 CS Touring is on the way. Enough spy shots have confirmed that. It's going to look great. It's going to be the Goldilocks car of the entire bunch, I think. I can't wait to see that. That's going to be great. And we know that an M2 CS is coming as well. I saw tons of them camouflaged when we were coming from Munich to here. And that is going to be a beast. I think it's going to maintain rear-wheel drive, maybe not have quite the power boost that this does, maybe 520-ish, something like that. I'm having a guess here. I think plenty of carbon, splitter, lighter wheels, hopefully carbon ceramics. That's going to be a hell of a car, because the standard one, despite being so heavy, is just such an agile beast. I love my one. I can't wait to see what the CS will be like. Anyway, enough dreaming about the future. Let's head out now. We're going to drive this car here on the Salzburg Ring. Just a really quick first drive, just to give you an idea of what it sounds like, what it drives like, the different modes, etc. Let's head out in the M4 CS. Right guys, the weather's worsened, but I'm going to head out and I'll explain what it was like when it was dry, and let's see how we get on when it's wet. Buckling in. See, this is European weather. You cannot predict these things, but you can predict how good this car sounds. Off we go. So did a number of laps in this already, and predictably with CS, it feels so rigid. The great thing always about the CS cars, and it's no different in this LCI, is how nice the steering is. And that's even in this XDrive version, where often the XDrive would numb the steering feel, but because everything is so rigid, it just makes for a heightened experience over the standard car. The other thing that is immediately discernible is just how different the throttle mapping is, how different the gear changes are, just like we found in M4 CS. It just feels like a different vehicle altogether. I love the turning, I love how rigid it is through the corners, and the power, if you're in the right gear, coming out of the corner, is fantastic. It genuinely does just feel faster than the competition. And the engine though it's lovely. The titanium silencer really does add that je ne sais quoi that the competition just misses out on. Like, it's just never emotive enough. But the CS really nails that element, the emotive element, which is so important. I think that's half the battle with a product like this. The reactiveness of the engine to throttle responses, the gear changes being different to the competition, the better steering, and of course you're less scared in weather like this because you do have the XDrive at the end of the day. So it works out as pretty much the best of both worlds in that way. I would love to drive this car on the road because, you know, Salzburg Ring is a good circuit. There's a couple of twisty bits in it, but it's mainly a fast circuit with like a lot of straight, which is fine, but the true test of a car like this is on road. So I'm excited to drive this on road one day. And what's nice is I mean, it's hard to judge this without really going on the road with it, but really it feels 90% of what I was feeling in the CSL as well. No doubt the CSL will be better, less intense, etc. But you know, so much of the experience of that car is in this that I loved. You know, I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed driving it in the dry, in the wet. It's not anywhere near as daunting as the M4 CSL would be. But the true test of this car for me is always on the road. So I'm looking forward to driving this back home. We'll probably still be the same weather anyway, but on real roads, just to see, is this the upgrade versus the competition, and is it the Goldilocks M4? We will find out in the future. If you've enjoyed this episode of RBR, as always, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.